welcome to GST Ki Masterclass. Today is the first GST Masterclass in English and the fourth one in the entire sequence of masterclasses on GST that have been held so far. And the subject today is registration and migration to GST regime. Frequently asked questions that have been sent on social media with hashtag #AskAdhia have been selected in advance by Finance Ministry officials, and today an esteemed panel of guests is with us. They are senior Finance Ministry officials. They'll be answering, in fact, the frequently asked questions that have come on social media. Let me introduce them to you. Hasmukh Adhia, Revenue Secretary, is with us. So is Mr. P.K. Jain, Chief Commissioner of CBEC, and Prakash Kumar, CEO, GSTN. To tell you a little about the format of today's session, there will be a brief presentation by Revenue Secretary Hasmukh Adhia and by the CEO of GSTN, Mr. Kumar, and that will be followed by FAQs being answered by the Finance Ministry officials and GSTN official, and after that, the floor will be open to questions. So let's get started with the presentation. Mr. Adhia.
Thank you very much, Munmun. First of all, I would also like to extend my warm welcome to all those people who are gathered here, as well as those who are watching us online everywhere. I'd also like to express my gratitude to the Press Information Bureau and the Doordarshan, which have taken this initiative of disseminating knowledge on GST to various small traders, big traders, tax practitioners, and also to government officials. It's been a wonderful experience so far. A lot of other channels also are carrying these episodes, and I'm thankful to them also for sending this message to lakhs and lakhs of people through this initiative. The three classes which we have taken in the GST Ki Masterclass were all in Hindi. And this class is a series of three classes, again on the same subject but in English. The first class is on registration and migration from VAT to GST, from service tax to GST, and also on the issue relating to GSTN, how to handle the GSTN related issues of registration, etc. Those of you who have already watched class 1 of the master class in Hindi, they need not watch this because this is a repetition of the same thing in English. We'll start with a small presentation, and this presentation will tell you basically who all are supposed to register for GST, who all are excluded from registration of GST, how to register yourself online, and what are the modalities connected with the registration that you have to follow. So this is a complete presentation on registration. In fact, I can confidently say that those of you who follow this presentation and also listen to the questions and answer session, they will not need anybody's help for doing registration. They can do it themselves. But at the most, if they have any fear, they can take the help of a IT graduate who knows a little bit of IT, how to handle computer, and they will be able to register themselves online. So this is such a simple thing. So we'll move on to the presentation. The first thing is, who is supposed to register under GST? Anybody whose turnover is above 20 lakhs for a year. Now this we calculate with reference to the last year. So if you are already a dealer last year, and if your trading volume or if your manufacturing turnover was about 20 lakhs last year, then you are supposed to register. In case of special category states, which are hill states of Northeast, Himachal Pradesh, Uttaranchal, and Jammu and Kashmir. In case of this 11 states, other than Jammu Kashmir, because in Jammu and Kashmir, although it is a special state, it has got a status of a special state, but they themselves prefer to keep the limit of 20 lakhs. So in Jammu and Kashmir, if you are a dealer, you have to register only if your turnover last year was more than 20 lakhs. In all other special category states, the limit is 10 lakhs. So if you are having turnover more than 10 lakhs, you are supposed to register. And for the rest of the country, it is 20 lakhs. When you talk about the turnover, what is it that we count in the turnover? The turnover will include not only the turnover of the taxable commodity that you are selling or manufacturing, but also the exempt commodities turnover which you are dealing with, also the turnover of export, and if you have done any interstate supply last year, then also that interstate supply turnover will also be counted for turnover. So it is total turnover that you have to count for the purpose of this 20 lakhs or 10 lakhs limit that you are given. The second issue is that if your turnover is less than 20 lakhs, but if you are a person or a dealer or a company supplying goods to another state or services to another state, then you are supposed to register under the GST compulsorily. So your turnover may be 10 lakhs, your turnover may be 5 lakhs, but if you want to do any interstate trade, if you have to sell goods to another state, or if you have to give services to another state, then you are supposed to take registration. This is a fundamental thing. Now, what does it mean when I say that you have to take a registration? Now, what it means is that in the state where you are selling, from the state where you are selling, you have to register, not in the state where you are sending goods, okay? So, for example, if I am a dealer based in Haryana, and if I am selling to Uttar Pradesh, then I have to register in Haryana, not in Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh, I am only sending goods. I am not selling from Uttar Pradesh. But if I have got a branch in Uttar Pradesh, then also I have to register in Uttar Pradesh also. But if you are selling only from one place to the rest of the country, anywhere in the country, if you are sending goods or services, then you are supposed to register definitely. So the 20 lakh limit does not apply if you want to do interstate trade. So that is one thing. The second thing is which I already explained, it is only to be done in the state from where the goods or services are supplied. So I may be an IT software company, but if I am supplying software, I am making software for the rest of the country sitting in one place, then only in that state he has to register. He can supply software sitting in one office to rest of the country, but he has to only take registration in that one state. The third category of people who are supposed to take registration is casual and non-resident taxable person. Suppose you want to register only for one-time episode because you've got a box contract, you are a contractor, you've got a contract from government and government insists that you should be registered, then you can be registered as a casual person. And there also the casual person, the limit of 20 lakh doesn't apply. If you want to do one-time business, even of 10 lakhs, then you have to take registration. So there also 20 lakh limit doesn't apply. Similarly, if you are a non-resident person coming to India for a short while and you want to do business, then you are supposed to take registration, 20 lakh limit does not apply. The next is if you are a person defined under the law with the responsibility to pay full tax under reverse charge, full tax under reverse charge. For example, there are certain category of people we have defined. If you are taking the transport service, if you are giving the transport service, then the responsibility is on the transport aggregator. So in that case, the transport aggregator has to take the registration. And if you are an electronic commerce operator, if you are having a e-commerce company or e-commerce, you are dealing in e-commerce, then also the e-commerce company, which is an electronic commerce aggregator, they also have to take compulsorily registration. And lastly, if you are an agent of somebody, then also you are supposed to take registration as an agent, because agent and principal relationship also has to be clarified. So those are the categories of people who are supposed to take registration. Now, who are the people who don't have to take registration? There are three categories of people here. First is the person who is engaged exclusively in exempt supply, non-taxable supply. So for example, there are a lot of commodities which are exempt. We have given a full list in the newspaper through an advertisement. Suppose milk is totally exempt. So if you are doing trading of milk only, then you don't have to register. You may be doing 100 crore of turnover of milk, but if it is the only item you are selling, then you don't have to register. You may be selling food grains which are in loose and not branded foodware, branded food. Then also food items are all exempt category other than branded and in pack condition. So that also, if you are only dealing in that, you don't have to register. If you are simply dealing in petrol, diesel and not selling any lubricant at the petrol pump, because lubricants etc. are taxable under GST. But petrol, diesel are not taxable. Petrol, diesel, natural gas are not taxable. So if you are dealing in those things only, then you don't have to register. But along with the petrol and diesel sale, if you are keeping some lubricants to sell, you have to register under GST. Second category, if you are an agriculturist and you are growing something on the land, that kind of an agriculturist. So then also, as an agriculturist, your turnover may be more than 1 crore, but then also you don't have to take registration. So as an agriculturist, whatever amount of goods you sell in the market, you don't have to take registration. Wherever there is a tax on commercial crop production, those taxation is also in the reverse charge on the dealer or the trader who will be purchasing it. So the agriculturist per se, those who are cultivating the crops, for them it is not compulsory to register. They may not have to take registration. And finally, of course, those who are engaged exclusively in supplies which are under reverse charge mechanism. So if you have a responsibility to pay under reverse charge mechanism compulsorily, then you have to register. Okay. So those are the items which are compulsory. Those are the items. Sorry, you don't have to take registration in this case. Suppose there is an item on which the tax is payable only in reverse charge. Okay. Then you don't have to take registration. You are the one who is giving services or goods, but the taxability is on the reverse charge only in that item, in which case you don't have to take registration. Then finally, of course, the next is that what are the details of registration? How do you take registration? The first thing is that all registrations are PAN based, which means permanent account number of income tax is a must for taking registration under GST. So your GST number itself will be having PAN contained into the number itself. So everybody who has got a PAN only can take GST registration. Anybody who has got a PAN can only take GST registration. The second thing is ki if you are actually doing business from more than one state, I'm not saying in more than one state, from more than one state, then in every single state where you're doing business from, you can take you have to take registration. So if you've got a branch in some other state, from where also you are selling your goods, you are storing your goods there, you've got a warehouse in another state, and you are also dispatching or selling goods from there, you have to take registration in that state also, right? But as I explained earlier, if you are simply sending goods to other states or giving services to other states, that itself is not good enough reason for you to register in other states. You have to only register in one state in that case. The third thing is ki in one state, with one PAN, you can take only one registration normally. One PAN, one registration. So you cannot split your units artificially. But if there are good enough reasons for you to split them, you have to apply for it. You have to take more than one registration for business verticals. So you may be running 3 different types of business. You are also selling crackers in the Diwali season. You're also selling, say, agro commodities throughout the year. And you may be also having a petrol pump. So if you've got 3 business vertical, you can ask for separate number for each one of them, but there are costs, there are issues involved with that. The moment you register them separately in one state itself, the transactions which are taking place between these 2 different entities of the same person will attract tax. So you have to then sort of treat them as independent units. And if your own unit is buying or selling good to another unit of yours, then the tax has to be paid. So you have to keep it in mind while you ask for registration in one state for more than one business. So that is something which can be done. In every registration, you have to give one principal place of business where all your records are supposed to be there. And then you are also supposed to give additional place of business in the registration form, which you can give at the time of registration. Any number of additional place of business you can give. So wherever there is a godown of yours, wherever there is a branch office of yours, at all this place, for all these places you have to give the details in the registration form. And finally, registration should be taken within 30 days of starting the business. So you can start the business to begin with if you are in a hurry to start the business, but you have to apply and get a registration number within 30 days. So there are certain businesses which were not under VAT or excise duty prior to 1st of July. Now all those businesses which were earlier not in the GST net, in the VAT or excise net, they are not migrated. They have to take new registration for the first time. For these people, the time available is only 1 month. So they should immediately apply and get a registration number before 30th of July. Otherwise, they will be penalized for doing their business without registration, and their business can also be stopped. So it's something which all this kind of traders who are for the first time coming into the tax net, they should remember that they have to apply in time and they have to take a registration within 30 days. Next. In the registration, there are core fields and there are other fields. There are 3 core fields which you are supposed to fill up. One is the legal name of business. So you can say Ram and Company, Shyam and Company, Rahim and Company, whatever name you want to give. That is your name of the business. The second is address of principal and additional place of business. Now these are core fields. And the third is addition, deletion, retirement of partners or directors. So whenever there is a change in the composition of the firm or in the composition of the board of directors of the company or in the ownership, etc., then you have to give details on this. Now these are the 3 fields which you cannot change yourself. These are called core fields of core fields of information. For changing this field, you have to go to the tax authority to which you are assigned, and you have to request, I want to change my ownership structure, I want to change the name of my business. These are the things which cannot be changed automatically by you. The tax authority has to approve your changes in these 3 core fields. Other than this, all other fields which are there, for example, the name of your bank account, you can change your bank account yourself. And these changes can be made, the other fields can be changed by you yourself anytime. So this is something which you must remember. Next. You can also take voluntary registration. You may be below 20 lakhs, but if you wish to, you can take voluntary registration. But what are the pros and cons of this? The benefit of this is that if you are registered, your turnover comes on the record, that is one. Second is that you can do B2B transaction also. Because normally in B2B transaction, where you are selling your product to another business, that particular business will require input tax credit to be taken for this purchase. And so if you are registered and if you have paid the tax on that item, then he will not have the hassle of paying the same tax in reverse charge mechanism. So he would always prefer, the B2B person would always prefer to buy from a person who is registered. So it is always advisable to register so that you can sell goods to B2B. B2C it is okay, B2C because the consumers don't need any input tax credit. So you can be below 20 lakhs and you may not register, that's fine. The second benefit, as I told you, the registered dealer will not have to pay tax in reverse charge. If you are selling in B2B, the other person doesn't have to pay in reverse charge. What are the minus points of registering voluntarily? One, once you are registered, you are supposed to pay tax on the entire turnover. You cannot then claim exemption of 20 lakhs. Once you are registered, even if your turnover is 1 lakh rupees or 5 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees, whatever turnover you have, on that you are supposed to pay tax. So that is one thing. And secondly, even if there is nil transaction during the month, you are supposed to file your return in time. Now that is something which is another disadvantage with voluntary registration, but you have to weigh the pros and cons of this. Now, this is the broad legal conceptual framework of the law and the rules that I explained to you. The main thing is how do you register online on the GST portal? What is the procedure for it? What is the mechanism for it? What is the mechanism for modifying the detail that you have given in your GST registration form? and what are the various issues associated with this, and what kind of a IT problems are you facing? All those things Prakash will cover in his presentation. I'll request Prakash Kumar to now take over.
Thank you, sir. So you heard the legal aspects. Now I'll just take you through the GST portal, which has been created for registration, payment, return filing, and integrated GST settlement data processing. Now, what was being done till 30th June on VAT portal of 29 states, 7 union territories, and the portal of service tax and central excise will get done at one place. So there is one portal for the whole country for all GST taxpayers. You must have heard two different terms. One is enrollment, migration, and also now new registration. So my endeavor here will be to just tell you more about what these terms are and how we do these processes on the GST portal. Next. So enrollment is essentially for those who are already registered under state VAT, service tax, central excise, and other taxes which have been subsumed under GST. So the government started this enrollment process on 8th of November by issuing provisional ID at that time based on the TIN, tax identification number under then existing taxes, and the PAN. So these were the two things which were required, and a provisional ID was generated and shared with the tax authorities for onward sharing with the taxpayers. There is no fee charged for enrollment or the migration. And if one goes through the manual or the FAQs and is ready with documents, it doesn't take more than 10 to 15 minutes to fill up the entire form. Now, what is required to be done? One is what we call enrollment. Once you get your provisional ID and the token from your tax authority, you need to activate it. And that is what is called in common parlance as enrollment. So one has to go to the portal, gst.gov.in, use the provisional ID which has been given and the token, and after that, the system will ask for a mobile number and an email ID on which OTPs will be sent. Once you fill up the OTPs which were sent on both email as well as mobile, then the system basically enrolls you. Now, what is this provisional ID? Provisional ID is nothing but your GST identification number. At that time, it was called provisional ID because law had not come into effect. Now, what are the documents required for filling up Part B of the form, which is basically your business details, details of the promoters or partners, your principal place of business, bank account, and things of that sort. And these are basically the photographs of all the promoters. There are sizes given there, like 100 KB maximum for photo, for constitution of business 1 MB, and all one needs to do is to keep them ready, scan it, bring them into size. One problem which many people faced in the initial period was how to reduce this. So when you scan, there is something called DPI on your scanner. Just choose a lower DPI and you will be able to bring your document to this size. Once you have done this, your migration part is also complete for after the ARN is issued, and I'll just take you through that next process. Now, till yesterday, a total of 86,61,000 then existing taxpayers were issued provisional ID. So these provisional IDs are with the tax departments, and they have shared with the respective taxpayers. Out of that, 69.32 lakhs have already enrolled, which means they have come and they have activated their provisional ID, they have given their email, mobile number, etc. And based on this, we have generated provisional certificate and sent it by email. It's also available on their dashboard. So if they log in, they can see and they can download this provisional certificate, which needs to be displayed in their place of business. Now, out of this 69.32 lakhs, 38.5 have also completed Part B. The Part B is the one which you fill up, which are those business details, promoters details, etc. Then you become eligible for permanent registration certificate, what we call RC, so that you can continue your business without any challenge. So we have still around 30.8 lakh taxpayers who are yet to complete Part B, and we are now sending them emails and SMSs requesting them to come to the portal along with those documents, fill up Part B, and sign the application. Now, signing the application is basically when you sign on a paper that the information provided is true to my best of my knowledge, etc. Similar kind of thing you do here. But then this authentication has to be done by digital signature certificate in case of companies, LLPs, and foreign LLPs. And for others, government has introduced electronic verification code where OTP is sent on the mobile number which you had registered earlier. Just give the OTP and then your signing process gets completed. Now, this was so far as the enrollment process was concerned. For those taxpayers who are already registered prior to 30th June under various laws like VAT, service tax, central excise, and they have been transitioned or migrated to the new law. Lots of people have started making new registration, and let me just take you through the new registration process, which is quite similar to enrollment format as well. And again, one has to go to the same portal, gst.gov.in, and what they need to have is PAN, a mobile number, and an email ID with them, a working email ID. So you just go there, give your PAN, give the mobile number, and give the email ID. A OTP will be sent to both. And this is basically to validate both the things, your mobile number as well as email ID, so that in future we can communicate with you. Simultaneously, the PAN is also validated with Central Board of Direct Taxes with the income tax database. Once that is found okay, a temporary reference number is given, and that is what you take and go and fill up the next one. The next one, you have to fill up the same items what I explained earlier while explaining the enrollment. It's basically your business details, promoters details, principal place of business, if you have additional places, additional place of business, bank account, etc. And then once you fill them up, you sign them. Once you sign, the system gives ARN. Now, ARN is generated after the PAN of the promoters or the directors is validated. Or in case of companies, the directors, the SIN and DIN is also validated online by the system. So in case there is an error, you get a message called validation error. And also an email goes to your registered email ID stating that these things have not been validated. Suppose one particular promoter's PAN is not matching with the income tax database, so there will be a validation error. And the email will say that this particular promoter's PAN did not. So what do? You go back to the portal and correct that so that your validation gets through. Now, once you have got the ARN, which means all validations have been through, then the registration application will be shared with the respective tax authority. Now, he gets 3 working days. Now, working days is important here. Saturdays and Sundays are not included, and similarly, local holidays are not included. Holidays are not included. So he gets a time to go through all the documents. He will go through the lease deed, etc., which has been uploaded, and whatever other information which has been provided. If he wants to know something out of the information which has been provided, or some document is not legible, he can raise a query. And he can ask to supply a new document or a clear copy of the document, or could be like your lease deed had expired. So he will ask you to give a new lease document. And that is what the taxpayer then has 7 working days to file that, and after that, tax officer gets 7 days to approve or reject. And accordingly, the taxpayer gets the permanent registration certificate. Can we go to the next one? This I have already explained that both of them get 7 days. The taxpayer gets 7 days to answer the query, and after that, once the information has been provided to the tax officer, he gets 7 days, and after that, he approves. Then registration certificate is issued. If he has reasons to believe, then he has to record in writing why he is rejecting the application, and that is conveyed to the applicant. Next one. Now, some of the tips which I thought I should give here for the wider audience, we have kept small 2 minutes, 3 minutes video on the GST portal. It's also available in YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, where step-by-step process, how to do it is explained. So my request is all the newcomers who want to do it, please have a look at it. And in fact, you can run it simultaneously while you are filling up. Number 2, keep all the documents ready, as I had explained earlier, and then I'm certain you will be able to do it in 10 to 15 minutes. While writing the name, please ensure that the name is written exactly the way it is written in PAN. If it is not written, then there will be a validation error. In case of companies, similarly, name of the company and the number, which is SIN. In case of directors, directors identification number are also validated, so that should be written clearly. The next one. So some queries have been raised here on Twitter as well as in our call centers that 3 days have gone and I haven't got my registration certificate. I just wanted to re-clarify again, there's 3 working days. And as I explained, if it is someone applies on Friday, then the Saturday and Sunday is not counted. Then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be counted, and by Wednesday evening he will get that. And if a query is raised, please answer that query, that particular relevant part, either by providing writing information or by providing document, as the case may be. Next. So that's all I had to talk about the process.
All right, Mr. Kumar and Mr. Adhia, thank you for that. And several questions have come on social media. So let's take them up one by one. The first one is, a taxable person's business is in many states. His aggregate turnover is below 20 lakhs. He makes an interstate supply from one state. Is he liable for registration? That has already been answered, that if there is an interstate supply, then there has to be registration. So we can move on to the second question. Whether a separate GST IN would be allotted to a registered person for deducting TDS. He has PAN and TAN as well.
Yes, of course. The TDS requirement is mainly with the government authority, and those government authorities will be given a separate number by the GSTN, because TCS is there for other people, but TDS requirement is only in respect of government authorities, in respect of contracts which are supplied to the government, the goods which are supplied to government. The government is supposed to deduct, and for that there is a separate registration which government authorities will take.
Is separate registration required for trading and manufacturing by same entity in one state?
Well, there is only one registration for PAN required. You may be having a trading business or a manufacturing activity, but all of this related to one PAN number, only one registration is required.
Even though I am not liable to register, can I voluntarily seek registration? This has been answered. The answer to this is yes. Let's come to the next question. Can we use provisional registration PID, or do we get new GST IN? Can we start using PID till a new one is issued? I think that has also been answered. The PID will become the GST IN. So
yes,
let's move on.
This is an important point.
Yes.
The people are confused about provisional ID and the final ID. We have time and again said that the provisional ID will remain provisional only so long as you get final certificate of registration. But for all practical purpose, that will become your permanent ID also. So the same GSTIN number has to be used by you in business throughout. The only thing which is required is that in order to convert provisional into final ID number, you have to give all the details, and then once you give those details, the computer will generate a certificate of registration for you, and that certificate of registration you have to display. Within 90 days, if provisional ID is not converted into certificate of registration, then that provisional ID will be discontinued. So people may like to note this, that yes, the same number will continue for life. So if you want to print your invoice book, your challan book, or your bill book, you can start printing them. That is the same number, it is not going to change. But within 90 days, you have to take the certificate of registration.
Whether trader of country liquor is required to migrate to GST from VAT as liquor is out of GST law.
You want to reply to this?
Liquor is outside GST. If he is only dealing in liquor, then he is not required to take registration.
I have migrated under GST but want to register as ISD. Whether I can apply now and what is the procedure?
Yes, there is separate requirement for registration for ISD. You have to apply again in registration number 1 form, and you have to say that I want a registration for ISD.
ISD means input service distributor. So if you have got businesses where you have got accumulated credit in one place, then you can distribute your input tax credit to other units also. Now that person who does this is ISD. And ISD, for becoming an ISD, you have to take a separate registration number.
So just on the portal, when you go and choose purpose, there is a one drop down menu is for ISD, and that you need to select that. Everything else remains the same.
Okay. Is there an option to take centralized registration for services under GST law?
Well, under the GST law, as I explained, earlier we had only service tax, which was one single tax levied by Government of India only. Now, service tax is also shared with the state governments. So the power to levy service tax is with all the state government. So just as earlier, the goods supplier, if he was doing business in more than one state, he was registering on all the states where he was doing business. Similarly, in case of services also, if you are supplying services from more than one state, then you are supposed to take registration in that state. But as I explained, I would like to again re-emphasize that if you are supplying services sitting in one place to rest of the country, then you don't need to take registration in all the state. But if you are actually having a branch and you are billing from some other state and also having a place of business in some other state from where also you are fulfilling your contracts or you are serving your customers, then in that state you have to take the registration.
How long can I wait to register in GST? I think the entire procedure has been explained in detail. Then the other one is, what if I have to make corrections in my registration details with regards to core fields and non-core fields also? An explanation was given, but
yes, that is available, and as the Revenue Secretary has explained, the core fields, one has to make an application online after logging in, and for non-core fields, he can do himself. This facility will be available from 17th of this month for both those who have enrolled and those who have newly registered.
So again, the important announcement here is that the facility to change the details of non-core field or core field, that will be available online from 17th of July. So a lot of people are getting impatient that I have made a mistake in putting some of the details. So when do I change it? And a lot of Twitter messages and emails are coming. So those people may please wait till 17th of July. After a week or so, it will open, and then if you have to make an application for changing the core field, that is also available online. You make an application online, but it will go in the back end to the tax authority, and within 7 days, either they will approve or they'll raise a query. And for non-core field, you can yourself change it. Instantaneously, it will be accepted.
I was a registered service tax
One
assessee.
more thing
Yes,
I
go
wanted
ahead.
to add, whatever changes you make, the system will keep the old data with us, so that all your past data and the new data both will be kept inside.
Okay. I was a registered service tax assessee with an annual turnover of 12 lakh rupees. but I am now eligible for threshold exemption. Since I have migrated, do I become a taxable person?
Well, if you migrated already, then you need to cancel it. So there is a simple procedure involved in the GSTN website where you can go and cancel it. If you are not above the threshold, if you are below the threshold and you want to cancel your migrated registration, you have to cancel it online.
Will input service distributor be required to be separately registered other than the existing taxpayer registration? That has been answered, that the registration will need to be done separately. Is there any system to facilitate smaller dealers or dealers having no IT infrastructure?
Well, actually, you don't need any infrastructure for the GST. A lot of misgivings are spreading all around that you need to have a computer all the time in your office. You need to generate invoices online. Nothing like that. You can generate your invoices online. First of all, you need registration. Now, as we explained, registration is a 15-minute procedure. And if you don't have a computer, you don't have knowledge of computer, you can take the services of an IT graduate who knows a little bit of computer. He knows how to go to GST website, what details to give, he will fill it up for you. So you can go to a cyber cafe or to an IT graduate and he will help you with that. You need one-time help. Then you need computer and internet only once for filing the return in a month. And there also, if you are a composite dealer, the return filing for a composite dealer is only once in 3 months. So you will need computer and internet only once in 3 months. Otherwise, if you are not a composite dealer, you are above that and you are a regular registered person, then once in a month. So at the most, when you want to see your purchases, if you are a B2B type and you want to see your input tax credit also, then you will need twice. And third time, of course, for finally clicking the return. So 3 times in a month is all that you need computer for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So, and still, if anybody has got any problem, we have requested our service tax, excise duty, VAT officers to function as GST Suvidha provider, Suvidha Kendras. And anybody can walk into these offices, there would be computer there. We have requested our officers to help them with filling up of registration details also.
How will I as a citizen know if someone is registered under GST?
Every taxable person is required to display his GST number in his name board or sign board of the business, and he is also required to display his registration certificate in his business premises. So a citizen can easily find out whether the person is registered or not. In case of composition dealer, he has also to mention that he is a composition dealer and he is not required to, and he is not entitled to collect tax from the taxpayer. So that is the legal requirement. So citizen can easily find out whether the person from whom he is buying is entitled to collect tax from him or not.
So if the person is a composition dealer, they need to have a signboard saying that they are in the composition scheme, is it?
Scheme,
Yes.
and they are not supposed to collect the tax.
It's very important because if you are unregistered dealer, you are not supposed to charge any tax in the bill that you give. The bill will be only the total value of supply, inclusive of taxes which have been paid in the input tax side. So you are not supposed to put any tax separately if you are unregistered dealer. And if you are a composite dealer, then also same thing. You are not supposed to put any taxation on the bill of, on your invoice. You call it bill of supply without any tax calculation. So he will give the total bill of the total value. So some people may become impatient. I went to so-and-so dealer and he did not add any tax. So that means he has avoided GST. It's not like that. The GST would come to us at least up to the wholesaler stage. So GST would have come to us in any case. What we are exempt is only the GST on the retailer's margin. That is what we are exempting. And we are saying instead of that, the retailer will pay only 1% lump sum on the turnover for the composite dealer. That is what we are saying. Okay? So people should not get confused. The small retailers who are in composition scheme, they may not give you a bill with tax detail, that 12% GST, 18% GST. But don't get confused. This is for the public in general. Okay?
Who are the persons for whom special provisions of registration are made?
I already mentioned it, the TDS, the TCS, casual taxable person, etc. You know, those are the special. Also for the UN specialized agency, but this is not of importance to general public.
What if my rental income is 5 lakh rupees and I'm providing exempt service of 18 lakh rupees in a year? Will I be liable to register?
As we have seen, the liability to register arises in a normal case if my threshold is about 20 lakhs. This 20 lakhs include all supplies, whether for export, exempted, taxable or non-taxable. In this case, the exempted supplies of 18 lakhs and taxable supplies of 5 lakhs. So total becomes 23 lakhs. Since the aggregate supply is more than 20 lakhs, he is required to take registration.
Also, when it comes to rental income, let me tell you that rental income received from individual residential house, that is exempted. But if you have given your unit to a commercial enterprise, then it is taxable. So if you are getting more than 20 lakhs of rent from a commercial unit, if you have given it for commercial purpose, for a shop or for an office, and if your income, rental income is more than 20 lakhs per annum, then you are supposed to register and pay the tax.
Provisional ID not received, how do I find it?
So as I explained earlier, provisional ID is created by the GST system based on request which comes from the tax department with TIN and the PAN, and the tax department only distributes. So they have adopted two modes. Majority of the tax departments, they keep it on their portal. So once they log in, like service tax pay, he logs in on his service tax portal, he sees that this is the new provisional ID for him and the token, and from there itself he can go. In few states they have given by hand as well. So in case someone hasn't got it and he was registered earlier with VAT or service tax or central excise, he needs to contact his tax authority immediately.
Provisional ID has been cancelled. What do I do to get it activated?
Pardon me, can you just repeat, sorry?
Provisional ID has been cancelled. What do I do to get it activated?
Okay, so the cancellation also happens on the request of the tax department. Sometime back, almost 2 months back, some of the tax departments took a drive and cancelled the TIN of those who had not filed their returns for many periods. So that number was around 5.5 lakh, and later on those people represented, they filed, and majority of them have been restored. So my advice to such taxpayers is they should go back to the portal of their old department, tax department, and check. In most of the cases, it has been restored. If it is not restored, that tax department will get it done.
My PAN has changed. How do I get it incorporated in provisional ID?
This has happened in case a person who was proprietor and he is no more, and then the concern or the firm passes on to his son or daughter. So in that case, the PAN gets changed. So this request again has to be accepted by the tax department, that VAT tax department or the service tax, as the case may be. And that request comes to us. So what we do, we cancel the old one, because GST identification number is based on PAN. So if PAN changes, your GST also gets changed. So the process is they need to contact the tax department, and we have done quite a number of such cases where the PAN has changed. Other case of PAN change is where a partnership, they decide to convert it into a company or vice versa. So only the tax authority who was earlier assessing them, they have to first confirm that yes, there is a requirement of PAN change, and then that comes to us, and then the process followed is cancel the old one and give a new one.
After submission of application, I got validation error. What do I do now? This has also been answered.
No, but let me explain, taking a minute here, because lots of people think that once I have submitted, so once you submit your details, all the details, and you sign using DSC or EVC, you get a message called success. Now that success is of signature, that you have successfully signed and submitted. And as I explained earlier, the PAN of all the promoters, authorized signatories, in case of directors, the SIN DIN as well, These are then validated with CBDT. Now this process takes time. We do it in batches. It is not done instantaneously. So almost every hour this batch is run. And in case any validation fails, like PAN doesn't match or SIN or DIN doesn't match, then error is given and also an email is sent to the taxpayer. So all he needs to do is to read that email and go back, log in and make necessary changes, give the name as per the PAN of that particular promoter or authorized signatory wherever it has failed.
Another related question is, not able to sign in with DSC, Digital Signature Certificate. Is there any other mechanism to authenticate?
Yes, first time when people install the DSC, it's quite a tedious, long process. But the good part is more than 24 lakh people have already done it in our country. Now what government has also done, they have allowed signing or authentication of registration form using EVC, which is nothing but an OTP which comes on your registered mobile number. So you just put that, so that's the EVC, the third one which is available for signing, and I will request all to use that. However, this is not available to companies, LLPs and foreign LLPs.
A related question, OTP not received, what to do?
So this happens OTP because of many factors, including the telecom service provider, where you are, which building you are. So there is another button there, regenerate OTP. So that is what one needs to do, to press that and be in a place where you get signal. There are lots of places, even in Delhi, where you don't get mobile signal. So if the mobile signal is not there, you will not get OTP. I mean, this happens when you are doing banking services also.
From where can I get the registration certificate?
So the provisional certificate based on enrollment of around 69 lakh taxpayer was generated, sent by email. It's also available on the dashboards. But the dashboard is once you log in, then only you can see. And there is a service under the services sector, there is a view, download the certificates, so you can download it from there. Similarly for final registration certificate, in case of new registration, that's also available there.
What can I do in case a query is raised to me in response to my online application for registration? You have already explained that.
So while explaining the process of registration, I had mentioned that the officer, when he looks at the registration application, so he goes through all the details which have been filed or submitted about the promoters, principal place of business, additional place of business, etc. Now in case of place of business, they look at the lease deed. How did you lease deed, or there are other documents which are provided. So if, as I had explained earlier, if the lease deed is old, it has already expired, or it's not legible, now in those cases he will ask for additional information. So these are some of the cases where additional information or the new lease deed will be asked, and the taxpayer gets 7 working days, which means leaving aside Saturday, Sunday and holidays, to provide that application again electronically on the same portal. So he doesn't need to go anywhere, he needs to log in and upload the new document. Suppose it's a new lease deed, he has to just simply upload that, and it will go automatically to the tax officer, who will get now 7 days to take a decision. Yeah. One thing is, the officer can raise queries only once. He cannot do it in piecemeal basis, like one query at a time. All the queries have to be raised in one go, and all the replies are provided in one go.
I deal in more than 5 items, whereas form allows only 5 items for HSN code-wise entry. What do? I think that has already been mentioned, that 5 major items need to be mentioned.
This is a very common question asked by many, where the form only allows 5 items of your trading or manufacturing to be entered. Doesn't matter, you may be manufacturing or trading in hundreds of items. We want 5 main items to come there. Okay, so that is all that you can do. You can still, it doesn't mean that you cannot trade in other items. You can still do it. Okay?
Authorized signatory of tax practitioner is not sharing user ID and password. What to do?
This is a very tricky question. Sometimes we trust our tax practitioners, and they get the mobile number and password, and they get the login and password. And when we want to do it ourselves, they don't want to part with it unless we pay some fees or etc. This should not normally happen, but if it happens, then you have to go to your tax authority and say that please generate a new login and ID for me. The tax authority has to send a request to GSTN, and GSTN will have to give you new login and password. So this is the only possibility that we have.
We can open the floor for questions, though we have more questions on social media. If anyone has a question, they may raise their hand, and the mic may be passed to them.
Okay. Yeah.
सर एक सवाल मेरा है कि किसी ट्रेडर के पास आप जाते हैं
English. This is a class for English, so maybe next time. Hindi we have finished, yeah. See, okay, next. Next.
Please pass it on.
And there was a query that in case of a service provider takes a registration, migrates to GST and his turnover is 12 lakhs and he doesn't cancel it and he goes with it, so he will have to pay the service tax, now the GST on 12 lakhs also?
Yes, if you remain registered, if you stay registered, then naturally the liability to file return and liability to pay tax comes. So that is why I mentioned that those who are migrated earlier and they have also successfully generated a provisional certificate of registration, they should cancel it. They should not wait. They should cancel it right away if they don't want to remain. Okay?
Second question is that there was a query that if 18 lakhs is the exempted turnover and 5 lakhs is the taxable turnover, he will have to take a registration. So on that 5 lakhs, he will have to pay the GST and GST?
No, not on the exempt turnover. His
Not
tax,
on the exempted turnover, but
no, his tax lab, he has to register if his taxable as well as exempt turnover is more than 20 lakhs.
right.
But the tax payment liability is only on the taxable commodity, except in case of composition. In case of composition, you have to pay total, the turnover tax on the total turnover.
Thank you.
Sir, myself Arjun, this is from UNI. Suppose someone was providing some services and he was earning around 7 to 8 lakhs. Earlier he had to he had to pay the service tax. Now the limit is 20 lakhs and he is still earning 10 lakhs or 8 lakhs like that. Then is it compulsory for him or her to migrate to GST, or he or she should do nothing?
No. Look, first of all, also earlier also under service tax also the exemption limit was 10 lakhs. But suppose his turnover is now between 10 and 20 also, then also if he is already migrated, then he has to cancel it. But it is not compulsory for him to register. He
Any other
cannot,
questions?
He need not. No? Voluntarily he can register, but he need not. Yeah.
Okay, there's one person who wants to ask a question there.
Sir, I am a registered service provider. I want to register as a GST practitioner. So is it possible for me to go for the two registrations together? I am providing from Delhi only.
No, the registration for tax practitioner.
See, both are separate. So
Yeah.
one is as a provider of services, and the second is as a practitioner.
Yes.
So practitioner, you are not registering, you are enrolling. There is a subtle difference.
Okay.
As a law person, you will understand. Whereas as a service provider, you are getting registered, and then you will have liability to pay taxes, GST.
I am already paying taxes, but can I club the GST practitioner in my services?
No, you can't. For registering, enrolling as a practitioner, GST practitioner, there is a separate registration procedure available online.
Okay.
That is also now
Separate.
going to be available from 17th
Yes, sir.
July. So it is to be available from 17th July. So you can enroll as a tax practitioner. That is a separate thing. After enrolling, if your total turnover is more than 20 lakhs in a year, then you should also register separately as a dealer, as a service tax practitioner. So you have to register under GSTIN. You have to take a GSTIN number also. In the other one, you will get an enrollment number.
We won't be able to take any more questions because that's all the time that we have for this. So we'll thank you, Mr. Adhia, Mr. Jade, and Mr. Kumar for having joined us for this session. Tomorrow, we'll be joining you live at 4:30 p.m. on Doordarshan Network, as well as on the various social media handles of PIB, that is on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, and you can also watch the live webcast tomorrow as well on pib.nic.in. That is the website of the PIB. Tomorrow, the topic will be transition and invoice making. So if you have any questions, tweet with #AskAdhia. Thank you so much for watching.